All right. So good evening all. Today is Tuesday, November 27th. It is now 6:05. We're continuing our Board of Trustees business meeting. The board met in executive session before to discuss the district's hydro operations, and the board has nothing to report at this time out of those discussions. And item number 3 is to review and approve minutes from October 23rd. So everyone had a chance to review those? Does anyone have any corrections, omissions? So Dan did a nice job with them this time.
Excellent job.
All right.
Move to accept the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor? So moved. Item number 4, board review of October 2018 financials.
Matthias, you're on.
Just had a couple of notes for October. The first being that our sales were down a bit, about 500,000 kilowatt hours, and we were up a little bit in expenses, in administration mainly, and that was mostly due to one of our guys retired and we paid out his vacation. That was a significant amount of money, and we also had some engineering expenses in October, I think solar farm related. So we missed the budget by a bit this month. Year to date, we're still, I think looking good.
Do we have in our personnel policy about accrual of vacation time for this?
And not only how much they get, but carryovers into the next year, things like that.
I know this employee was exempt from that for
The 2012 exemption,
right,
but it is covered.
moving forward, so we don't have this large payment.
So there is no one who is not covered at this point going forward?
I'd have to, no one that is not covered.
Let me put that in the affirmative. Everyone is now covered by the current policy. There's no exceptions.
I don't believe that's the case.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, even our person, although he may have accrued outside our normal bands. Sometimes you do that to attract people. We still have everybody adhere to the carryover each year, so we're not subject to a rolling balance, if you will. So he had only carried over 40 hours from the previous year like he was supposed to. It's just he was a
Long-term employee.
a long-term, highly valued employee, and that translates to the salary and payout.
Yeah.
Right. Does anyone else have any questions for that?
I'm sorry, you mean on the entire report?
No, just on that.
Okay.
On that piece.
I apologize to have to do this again. Mrs. Wayne, your first name?
I'm Lauren.
Lauren.
Yes.
And it is Wayne, correct?
It is.
Is that sufficient for
That'll
public
be
record?
fine.
Did you have some other questions, Jay, on a different part?
Well, I'd let Matt finish if he had more to tell us. I do, but not really.
And I did just want to say that I did a little bit of analysis on the past due accounts, and that's kind of interesting stuff depending how you look at it. So we're slightly down in past due from last month to this month, and as number of customers go that are past due, we have fewer customers that are past due October of 18 than October of 17. So that means that they're carrying a larger balance, and I'm very sure that part of that is that big September that we had. They experienced larger than normal bills, and so
REC.
they're trying to they're trying to pay those off, and the way that they do that is they pay it off over time. They spread it out because they can't pay it all at once. So I just wanted to let you know that it's not any one extraordinary thing, and that it doesn't look out of control to me. It's just a function of the power usage, is how I'll say that. I await Jay Kilhorn.
You answered my question. No, I mean, we do still have, the percentage of delinquent accounts as a percent, the delinquent accounts dollar value as a percentage of sales this is the first time we've seen that significant variance year over year. It's much higher right now. And so I guess it's just, how much exposure do we have? Are we past our window to really make sure that we get paid everything we can before we're in the middle of winter? It sure looks like winter out there.
Yeah, well, we are in the no disconnect without permission part of the year, but those customers they're the vast minority of those folks. You know, people really do want to pay their bills, and although we experience an increase in payment arrangements to spread that out, we're not seeing an increased amount of ones that we would say would be uncollectible. Not yet.
Just one other thing, which is this is a really nice looking balance sheet.
It is looking good.
You guys are leading us towards, I think, a better place just in terms of our financial position, our bond rating, our security in the face of some unusual, extraordinary circumstance. And so, thanks.
What I find interesting is it's 45 days and 56 days. Last month it was 38 versus 49. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, and you know, there are things that, you know, definitely make that happen, and unfortunately can
That's what I'm asking.
make it happen in reverse. You know, so you know we're just, I think, just applying a continued disciplined approach to building the financial stability that will pay off in a lot of ways. You know, certainly for the bond rating.
Any other questions on the financials? Moving on, item number 5. The board to authorize the general manager to offer for sale truck number 2, which is a 1998 spare bucket truck with a minimum bid of $20,000. Todd?
This truck sits in reserve a lot. We don't have enough qualified, if there were an event, we don't have enough qualified bucket rescue personnel to run 3 trucks. Truck 2 is really small. This has been something that has been on the table for a while. I've never brought it to the board because it's never been forced upon me. Kevin feels that that truck is just a liability sitting in the garage. We pay expenses every year to have it tested electrically, to, you know, storage in the garage, insurance on the truck. They don't use the truck. And so I've been asked to request the board. We do have an unsolicited bid for the truck. I put minimum bid of $20,000. The unsolicited is $30,000. If the board is interested in selling it and wants to raise that minimum bid to $30,000, that is acceptable to me as well. But it is just a truck that is not used. It sits in the garage and takes up space.
What's the mileage on it?
56,000. It's a cat.
1998.
1998. It's a cat diesel. It has been dielectrically tested this year. It passes, but they just don't use it.
56,000 diesel. How's the body?
It's lived in the garage its whole life, so it's pretty solid. It's a manual transmission. Most people that can drive it.
What's the height of the bucket?
55.
And somebody's offered 30,000.
Yeah, we've got a local line contractor who does it, who is a former CMP employee who is doing some of the work with NextEra out at the solar array, and he had come here for questions, and he saw the truck. I was like, what's the deal with that truck?
How did you come up with that $20,000 price?
That was market value I was seeing on Commercial Truck Trader, and there's a place in Massachusetts that sells a lot of retired utility vehicles. So that was the price that I felt was a fair market value for that vehicle, viewing what I'd seen. We do have low mileage and it is in really good shape, but 20,000 I thought was a fair amount. But like I said, I do believe, I had a call again yesterday from the same person that said they'll submit the bid as soon as they know that the board has approved it. I think it's more of a
We have
write-off
to put it out
than
to,
anything. We'll put it out to bid, we'll put it on Maine Municipal, and the next agenda item asks, like last time, the board authorizes me to accept the bid so long as it meets the minimum and all the other requirements. So it would go tomorrow live, and the bid opening would be December 14th, which gives a couple of weeks.
what would you say a new truck like that costs?
They don't really make them.
100,000?
A small truck like that, it's hard to tell. Probably around 100,000. But I haven't priced one that size.
Because what's the height of our other trucks right now?
We have a 60 foot. So they haven't gotten much taller. They're just bigger trucks. We have, the Freightliner is a 2005, I believe. That's in fairly good shape. They take really good care of it. That's the regular cab. And then the International is the extended cab. That's 2011. And those trucks go for about 300,000 now for a brand new one.
And when are we due for another new one?
It used to be every 10 years. Kevin and I are having those conversations to see the Freightliner. We have been, they all sleep inside, so it's basically making sure that the salt is taken off them when they get back in. The older vehicles have a lot of benefits because there's no burn off of the emissions, there's no diesel electric fluid, there's a lot of, not safety, but a lot of emissions issues that aren't incorporated into the older trucks. But we don't have a definitive date. The next truck that may need to be replaced is the Digger Derrick. That's the next oldest truck in the fleet, and that one.
But that's a totally different purpose.
Total different purpose, yeah. The bucket trucks, I don't believe there'll be a replacement in the next 5 years.
Yeah, because the first one you said is a 2005.
2000, it's a 05 or an 08, Matt. Do you know that off the top of your
It's
head?
an 05.
Yeah, it's an
So
05.
that's 13 years right now.
Yeah, and that one's,
What are you planning to do with the funds?
the funds would just go in reserve, and they'd have to come to the board before any expenditures.
The 2005, how many miles you have on it?
I don't know that off the top of my head. It's
Less or more?
under 80,000.
Oh,
The trucks don't go that far.
Yeah,
They're constrained by the,
they go a lot like that.
exactly, back and forth a lot. But
All right. Make a motion that we authorize the general manager to offer the sale of truck number 2, the 1998 spare bucket truck, with a minimum bid of $30,000, and that the general manager can accept the bids once they're all received without coming back to the board.
Was that a motion or you looking?
Yes, no, I made the
I'll
motion.
second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Oppose? Unanimous. Item 7, discussion with the board regarding capital improvement items being considered for 2019.
So the Ross Road project is a consideration. We're trying to come in to a target of about $250,000 in capital improvements for next year. Right now, we're waiting on a meeting with Chris Osterreiter of the town. We have to put together the cost of what Summer Street's reconstruction is going to cost the district. Once we know the cost of moving the poles, the lines, and what will be the remaining balance, we'll have a full plan to come back to the board with the holidays and with everything that's been going on. We haven't had a chance to meet with the town, so at a soon, I don't know about the December meeting because that may just be negotiations. potentially in January, we'll know what those costs are, and we'll be able to bring those costs to you so that we can move them forward. But there's 44 poles that need to be moved on Summer Street for the reconstruction that's going on there, and that's got to be borne by KLPD. So it'll be a combination of in-house work and contracted work in transferring the lines. That's a pretty big project that kind of snuck up on
What
it.
about other capital,
Meaning
budget capital, trucks?
that right now we didn't have any plans for new vehicles for the coming year. We were going to maintain the status quo until 2020 when we have a rollout for other vehicles that will.
So we have no plans for any capital other than line work?
No, other than line work, not for the time being.
One question on it. So we have to pay for the poles
We do.
and we have to pay for the labor
We do.
for this. Nothing comes back from the town?
No, that's not been our experience. When the town does capital projects, water, sewer, electric, kind of all. For water and sewer, sometimes there's savings because they're both in the ground at the same time, unless it's Storr Street.
Does
And then
the
they
town
have to
pay
open
for
up.
the water or sewer?
No, town pays to pave regrade the road, redo the road, and pave it. Sidewalks,
Okay,
things like that.
thank you.
So the estimated cost?
I can't give you a figure right now. There's 44 poles and the transfer of lines. That's what we're trying to come to. We're looking to stay.
January.
Yeah, we're looking to stay within $250,000 for 2019, and depending on what this project's going to cost us, we'll determine what happens next.
How much you can do on
So
this?
how does that affect the substation or Ross Road?
Well, if it costs us 150 grand, then it cuts into the budget. So then I'd have to ask the board for more money.
Why did
But we could do some
sneak up on us?
preparatory work.
Why did it sneak up on us?
There were conversations that were had in the past, and we weren't really ever brought up to speed on what the intensity of the project was, and so I say snuck up on us. This meeting snuck up on us because we can't have the costs associated, but it was kind of one of those things that was thrown in our lap September, October, where we'd like to pave this year, and no, you can't pave this year because we have all this work to do, and there wasn't a big conversation back and forth between the town. Now that the conversation's happened, we need to get our stuff together so we can get that done.
We're on Summer Street?
Between Bibbers and the landing store. So if you go out that way over by Jim's Service Center,
Yeah,
you'll
sure,
notice
sure,
that it's
sure.
all dug up right now. And
Yeah.
so the right-of-way isn't where the right-of-way is. So the road isn't where the right-of-way is. So they're shifting that to match what the right-of-way is, which means it's going to shift toward the river in some sections and toward the. If you leave here, it'll shift right in some sections, shift left in others, and that right-of-way is what's causing. If they were building the road right back where it was, we'd be in good shape. We wouldn't have
We
to
gotta
move
change
anything.
all the poles.
So now we got to change the posts. Typically, when a town redoes a road, they just repave it,
Right.
and we don't need to move anything.
Right.
Maybe we have a junction box in the road or something, but this one is reconstruction and they're reconfiguring. So
Do we have any poles on the spares or?
we have spare poles, but we'll need to order more
So,
And you'll be able to reuse the other poles?
in other areas. Yeah, some of them are old, and we'll just get rid of them, but some we'll be able to reuse.
and during, I assume they're gonna do this in the summertime or the spring or fall? or-
They're going to do it in the summer. We're thinking we're going to try to do it in the wintertime. So,
Okay.
because you can
we
drill
can move
you can
on
drill
to it.
pool,
Just put the
move
poles
all the
there.
poles, get all the poles set, have everything ready to all framed up, and then just needs to be transferred.
And we have the manpower, well, you said you was gonna contract.
Yeah, some of it will contract, some of it we can do.
And you're talking about Ross Road too?
Yeah, we are. The balance of the funds will determine how far on Ross Road we get in 2019. In fact,
If you could write the process going forward about how we manage our capital budgets and coordinate with the other agencies in town, would you do it differently than it happened this year? And how could we help you to move in that direction?
we're all now working on Mike Boldick of the sewer, Norm Labby of water, and the town. We all now everybody understands you need to be clearer when you're on a regular road reconstruction. That's not moving. That's not a problem for us. But the scope of the impact of that project is what is causing us a problem. So Chris Osterreiter, the town engineer, town manager, everybody's aware that if something of this scope happens, we need to know more. Typical road, like when they redid Ross Road, when you redo roads, and typically it doesn't affect us because it's within the right of way.
Right.
So this one here is moving the right of way. So everybody now knows these conversations will need to happen sooner, or at least we need to know that there's a right of way being moved.
So in the case of a road where there's like a new road or a major shift, there is a protocol for a year in advance for each party to notify each other so it gets in the capital budget, or?
Well, the town doesn't
How does
really
that
build
happen?
new roads that way. We capitalize the labor and there's aid in contribution of construction. So on a new road like Poets Glen and the other one on Ross Road, in these new subdivisions, the developer comes in, we put in the infrastructure, they pay for the infrastructure, the town paves it, that becomes a road that way. Existing roads are where the problem is. Or in this case, the nuances of this existing road and the movement. I guess there's DOT funds involved because it's a state aid highway, and the DOT wanted that right. In order to qualify, it had to go where the right of way says it is. So there were a lot of kind of extenuating circumstances on this one that.
And the town is going to do this, for sure.
Yeah, they've already started, doing some of their preliminary work.
And it takes away a lot of our care.
So are they giving you a plan for next year, or what roads are gonna be done? I mean, how does this work? I guess,
This is.
I know they got my road, they got my street in the plan, and I know there's a pole that's about 1 foot from the curb.
Yeah.
I gotta believe there's gonna be some stuff there. So is there some protocol to make sure that,
Typically, there's a meeting after town meeting where they'll say, okay, here are the roads that are being done, and typically it is water and sewer. They get informed because they're the ones that are affected.
Right.
99% of the time, because they have infrastructure in the road. We don't typically have infrastructure in the road, which is kind of where this one, the line of communication has to get stronger so that we know, okay, these are your list of roads that you're planning to do. Are any of them moving within the right of way?
so
that
follow up
was a
is,
step.
are we gonna have a 12-month or longer capital budget to look at this this calendar year as a board?
We have
I mean, we just talked about it, but
Yep.
we're not looking at a
I
budget.
can get you the entire, yes,
You do have a capital budget now for the year?
for
No,
For
us.
next year?
For next
For
year,
us,
that's
for
what
next
we're working on right now, and that will come before the board, before anything's approved. Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
You
and
just
we'll
told
do
me
that on
that
an
you weren't
annual
spending
basis.
anything in 2019 other than the power lines.
The Ross, the Summer Street, and then the balance
Oh, I
of
see.
that could go toward Ross
Right.
Road in preparation for that project.
Right. But I asked, is there any other capital
Oh.
expenditures for the,
Not roads that are gonna impact us.
not roads, but vehicles?
No.
Right. So there is no capital budget.
Substations.
Yeah,
So we're not planning to spend any capital next year?
we are not.
Just Summer Street and Ross Road.
Correct.
With the
Have you-
balance.
You were doing surveys for the, and engineering surveys for,
That
and
engineering
that's
work,
all been completed, right?
well, not all completed, but that's not a capital expenditure, that's an expenditure that we,
That's a bonding.
yeah, exactly, that we figure into the budget.
But didn't they put a estimated cost on Ross Road and also for,
There was an estimated
Substation.
cost, but the estimates are fairly old, and they could have gone up or down depending on what the market did.
what can we do with Ross Road? Because that's, what I should say, which is the most priority
Well,
besides this new one?
so Summer Street's is most priority because the road's moving, and then Ross Road
I would agree.
will be the next priority because of what we want to do to shift load off of Water
And
Street.
he won't know until January
Right.
how much money he has to go to Ross Road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because he has to do the budget for Summer Street first, and then he'll know what he has left. So he'll report back to us in January where he's gonna be.
Hopefully, we'll be able to do a lot of the labor in-house and save some money that way,
Right.
but contracting out will cost
Okay,
X
moving
I
on.
don't want to delay
Thank
this,
you.
but I gotta say one more thing if I could.
Yep.
I'm sorry, just, so I still feel like we're a little bit seat of the pants on our capital budgets. And I know you guys have, I think what we've done on our budget overall is fantastic. And I know you're moving towards a longer term plan, and that includes an inventory of our assets and so on. But, I mean, there's some amount of money that you've got in the pool that you're expecting to have to spend
Yes.
on capital next year. I don't know what that number is. Maybe I should, but I don't. And we've got, we do have bonding capacity, and in several years, we're gonna have a bunch of bonds go away. And so it seems to me like we ought to be planning, 3 to 10 years out in our capital plan as you get the information you need to do it. And we should be looking at how much are we going to draw from our accumulating reserves, how much are we going to have to bond out, how much, and so on. And since I've been on the board, we haven't really had a good capital plan. So I realize that we're in the process of moving there, but are we on the same page here?
We are on the same page. I don't know if at the budget meeting we had discussed we want to get the bond rating back where it is, back to where it was before we go out to any bonds. So these are the small chunks that were in the budget. There was $250,000 this year. We're anticipating next year as well. So as we start, now that we're ahead of the budgeting, we've got the budget approved early this year so that we can start making those plans and make some assumptions for next year and the year after, so that there will be a 3 to 5 year, and then we know what the horizon projects are. That it will depend on the timing of our bond rating. It would be detrimental to us to go out to bond right now with the rating the way it is, because of the last 2 bond reviews.
So I guess what I'm saying is we know that.
Yes.
You guys know that now.
Yes.
And I'm not clear what's between you guys and presenting us with a capital budget that explains all that to us. I feel like I just don't understand it, and I think we should. And we've got the substation coming up and other projects that we all know about, but it's just not clear in my mind.
It will become very clear for you.
Okay.
Once we have these prices together, then we can give you the ball. We can show you what we can capitalize in-house projects to extend what we're looking to do until we can bond the larger project, which is the substation. And
we know we have projections for hopefully continuing to improve our reserve, as Matt's targeted a required number.
What would you say the percentage on Ross Road for in-house work, approximate?
On Ross Road, ballpark, I could say 25%.
And the rest is going to be contract?
Yeah. You said Ross Road?
Yes.
Okay,
That has to be done first.
That's correct.
For substation.
all right, moving on, number 8. Board authorization to close the district offices on December 24th in addition to December 25th for the Christmas holidays.
I put this on here because last year Matt and I worked the 24th and this place was a ghost town. And
It's a Monday this year.
it's a Monday this
24th,
year.
Christmas
Typically
is
they'll go
Tuesday.
home at noon. If the board, I wasn't gonna say this, but if the board votes not to, I'm gonna let staff go home and I'll cover the office myself. Any emergency calls will still be covered by line crew. We have called people, nothing else will change, it's just the office won't be open.
I move to close the office on the 24th. That's
I'll
recommended by the general manager.
All those in favor? So moved. Item 9, general manager report.
Okay, so one of the updates I have that I don't know if people have been hearing off the street, but the tree lighting, the tree. It's been a long week today, but the second time I say this. So double the lights have been put on the tree at Fort Tibbetts today, and all of the light posts have been
Light posts or trees?
light posts have been lit. There was a meeting about a month ago with Public Works, Rec Department, and us. The agreement we believed, I wasn't there, Kevin was, we believed was what existed on night of the tree lighting. Nobody tends to agree, so we went out and put more today. That won't happen again, and we're working on addressing the issue for the future. It was a lot of miscommunication, and it was just a show. We'll leave it at that. So the tree is lit, and there are going to be more lights coming. We're decorating Christensen Lane and all of that this week as well. So everything else is on pace to make the snow-going public happy.
We still absorb all this cost of all these lights.
The lights we don't pay for. Somehow the town does pay for those. This year Public Works has assisted in wrapping light posts. There's been a lot more assistance from the town, but typically, yes, it's KLPD that does the brunt of the work. We helped to move the tree. I don't know who picked it. I think Mark might have picked the tree. We moved it, set it in place, decorated the tree. So we do a fair amount of work, but this year we got Public Works to help us out on quite a bit of it as well.
I also think it's very important that we continue to do that.
Absolutely.
It's a big part for the town.
Absolutely, abundantly clear today.
It does look good up Main Street.
So thank you. Well, it'll look better when you leave. Oh, wait.
I gotta admit, there weren't many lights on that.
No,
too.
there,
That-
yeah.
No.
Oh, no, there weren't, no. It
No,
wasn't,
that
it's
looked
not a very
pretty
big
shady.
tree either, so.
And it did look pretty good.
So don't let that happen again.
Yeah, we won't.
I talked about the lights on the,
Christmas tree.
no, but also I saw somebody stringing lights on the poles.
Light posts, yes.
That was, the two guys were doing it. Was that,
Those are, today?
yeah,
Yeah, those are our guys.
okay.
Yeah.
What
Candy
do you get
caning them.
electricity?
There's-
Light poles.
There's
Electric AC there?
outlets on each of the poles.
Yeah, you can charge your phone there.
No. I can charge my car.
All right, solar array update.
Solar array update, they are looking for backfeed power on December 14th, and I'm told commercial operation will be on by December 31st, they'll be generating power there. So, our website has a lot of photographs. We're still, we're still kind of waiting for that final site plan review board approval before any big advertisement goes out there. That will hopefully happen on Thursday night. So there's a section that still needs to be approved. A stop work order has been placed on the eastern section of the parcel. They just need to work through buffering to get their final full approval.
Is there gonna be a meeting
There
with
will
the
be.
press and,
Yep, there
for
will
us to
be.
go to and?
Yep, now that the dates are kind of solidifying, I can now reach out to the board and say, I need you, these are the dates we're looking at.
Thank you.
Throw the switch.
What day was that again?
They're looking for commercial operation by December 31st. So they'll be ready to generate by December 31st.
That's
Once we-
15 days ahead of schedule.
Right, so once we get closer to, I've been talking to the developers every day because of the things that are going on there and some nuances in the field. But once we have a drop dead date of when it's gonna come on, a week ahead of time, I'll know, and I'll, at least a week ahead of time, let the board know so that we can get up, you can get out there. They're waiting for there's some equipment that still needs to come on site. They're still tying things in, building fences. They have to tunnel under the Unitil gas line. All of those things are happening within the next 2 weeks, so they're coming along nicely.
Did the, as far as the town's stop work order, all that's
That got
been lifted, all
yeah.
taken care of?
The only portion that still has a start work order is what is a strip of land that abuts Marbury Lane. And that tomorrow night, Thursday night, the site plan review board will review their proposal to buffer that section. So they're moving along.
Question on that?
Yes.
Is there any reason for any of us or any ratepayers who are supportive of this solar array to be at that meeting, or is this a fairly routine matter now the plan's been fixed and they're gonna go forward?
When there's a volunteer board, there's never a fairly routine matter. So any solar support would be appreciated. I think NextEra would appreciate any words of confidence and or any words in support of what's going on out there.
Will it be public comment at that meeting, or is it?
I do believe there is public comment allowed. There has been at every meeting I've been to.
When is that?
Thursday night at 7 o'clock, town hall.
29th.
Do you need to put that on the website?
I don't think I'll have a majority of the board, but I can put it on the website just so that they're aware. I can link it to the town's website. Asplund has completed the second of 3 sections this year. I am still told that December 10th or 15th they'll be finished the 3rd section and complete that first year contract. Kevin and the crew and I are just reviewing the progression as it was planned to see if there's any adjustments that need to be made, areas that are more problematic, but barring any unforeseen circumstances, their first year contract will be finished by the 15th of December. So, and they've done I really think they've done a great job now that the reorganization has happened. There's some new crew, there's some new life. They're doing a really good job. So it's pretty impressive to see
So
now.
in January, do they start right in on the 2nd?
I think it'll be more like February, but they'll start in the 2nd, and they're planning to get that done over the year.
And when's the payments?
What's that?
When do you pay them?
We made 2 payments. We pay, so they complete a section, they submit an invoice, we go out and inspect, make sure that it meets spec, and then we issue payment. So that's Asplund. America First Hydro, no action's been taken on anything there. Board is still deliberating, discussing with the attorney options available to them. The last existing document from America First Hydro is their proposal that they made to the town, and I will verify that that is on the website in the packet. If not, it'll get placed there. Trustee holiday party, December 14th, 2018 at Garden Street Bowl, I believe 5:30 to 7:30. Be ready to bowl if you're so inclined. But you don't have to bowl, you can just go have a good time. Everybody knows what a Garden Street Bowl is.
Yeah. I'll be able to hear the party from my house, except that I'm coming.
Watch out, parking lot.
Okay. Yes, Bob.
I don't know if you wanna put it under G or not, but the wire job in West Kennebunk, is that ever gonna happen, or is that a waste of money?
I can't tell you, it's not never gonna happen. That is part of the bigger project involving Water Street. So we don't have it on our radar right now because of the cost of that job and whether or not we're gonna need it when this is reconfigured. If it doesn't happen, then yes, we'll reuse the poles and get that out of there. But unfortunately right now there's poles that were put in the ground that no further plan was made for, and so they're sitting there vacant.
Too bad we couldn't pull and use them down on Summer Street.
We might end up doing that.
But I think I just heard you say that we may still want to proceed with that wire job depending on how the design at the Water
Yes.
Street substation comes out?
Absolutely, but there's the question of, having those poles have been here, and some of those are almost 7 years now.
That's my point,
So-
that's why I'm bringing it up.
Those are considerations that we're taking, yeah.
Worst case scenarios, could they be used in an emergency
Absolutely.
if we had to string real quick?
If that project does,
I mean,
it's dry storage. If that project doesn't get completed in the way it was intended that many years ago, those poles will get reused, one way or the other. Those aren't gonna go to waste.
all right.
We have poles in the ground that have been there since 1920.
At this point, we've completed our agenda except for public comment. Before we go into, hold on. Before we go into public comment, I want to see if there's any other business to come before the board from the members. I have one piece that I need to bring up. And that is an email that the board received in reference to communications from a resident to the general manager. I did meet with the general manager this morning to discuss this and asked him to come to us tonight with his take on this communications.
Yeah, the reference to, so there was a customer that says I didn't respond to him. I scoured, we keep all our emails here at KLPD. Every email is saved. I looked through everything that came through the T-Shay at KLPD website, and the email in question doesn't exist. If it came through the website some other manner, I don't know. If it came through an info, but I was told that it came directly to me. I did a search through every email I've received. There's, like I said, 15,000 emails with specific tag words. And the name, the email address, the subject matter, nothing came up. So we don't keep files of voicemail recordings. I don't dispute that this gentleman called and left a message. I don't know when in September it was. I'm not gonna say I'm perfect. If I missed it, I did miss it, and I'll own that. He did call back, I don't know how soon after he left the first message, and Matt actually dealt with this, which is in the suggestions later on the email about delegating items like this. This is something I would have delegated to Matt, because he's got the spreadsheets and he's waiting for these kind of questions. So the concerns that were raised in the initial email about usage, about the questions about the bill, would have been directed to Matt anyway. Matt ended up handling it. I have that correspondence that Matt CCs me on. Anytime he has somebody that has a bill question, he'll CC me on it. I have those emails, but I don't have the initial. I will reach out to the customer tomorrow, apologize for whatever happened. I'm gonna own it, and in the future, it won't happen again. It's very rare that I get a voicemail and I don't return it in a voicemail, except for Peter, happy Thanksgiving. So that was last Wednesday. I was out of the office. I do try pretty hard to get back to people as soon as they call me, reply to emails. So however this one went down, I won't use any excuses. If it didn't happen, it didn't happen. But the email didn't happen. So I will reach out to this customer. Then it goes on to describe the incident on C Road on November 14th. I'll admit there was an incident on November 14th. I don't know if people realize, I know people realize we have 6 linemen. And so this happened at 2 in the morning. Linemen went right to the scene because it was a big tree down and it was they didn't think it was going to take as long as it did. The website was updated at 6:30 in the morning because what has to happen is Kathleen has to get a text. She uploads it to the website and then updates from there. That tree caused a lot of problems. When I came in at 7, I was told about an hour. So I was telling people an hour. Well, when I called the field, because I don't like to bother them while they're out there trying to restore power, what had happened was the tree fell, snapped the primary was put back together, and when they went to ride the line to make sure all the other faults were cleared, all of the ties on the insulator that hold the line to the top of the pole, you see the little ceramic things, there's one on the ground over there. Yeah. The insulator is held on top of the pole, the primary is held on top of the pole by an insulator with wire ties that hold it on. It had broken like 20 poles worth of wire ties. So they had to go back, reset that back into the insulators, retie those off, and that was another hour or so before power came back on. So the website was updated. By the time the customer got back, there was nothing on the website because power was restored. We've learned from this email, and it's actually had a conversation that we had to get a synopsis of what happened so that if people go back to the website and say, why didn't I have power? We can say, all right, this was a 4-hour outage because. That is going to happen moving forward, being proactive and letting people know what happened. Email sent to Kevin Vizina. I didn't see Kevin after I read this email, so I'll find out from Kevin and we're going to work on protocol because typically Kevin is very responsive to email. So I'm not sure if this customer is using a link in the website that doesn't work that we're going to check. And I'm also going to talk to Kevin to see if he got this email and explain to him, you're the one that is being contacted, either forward it to me or respond what happened. So those will be addressed. And there were recommendations that we are going to implement. Those recommendations, some of them it says outage of duration of 3 or 4 hours or longer. Police already are notified. Fire was on scene. Town hall doesn't get there till 6:30, 7 o'clock. So our crew is out there responding to an incident that is unplanned. Our staff is in-house answering phones and trying to take the burden off of dispatch. So the biggest recommendation that we have is if there is an incident, dial the emergency number, the 985-142 number. You'll either get us or you'll get dispatch and they'll be able to give you whatever information's available. But we don't always know how long it's going to take to restore the power. And so I own the fact that this customer his call wasn't returned. I will call him tomorrow, explain exactly what I've explained to the board, and moving forward we'll work on better assurances of making sure that people are getting return calls and emails.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I would just say that you might want to also say, since it was a big tree and you had a lot of the safety firsts.
No, yeah.
You mentioned that.
No, absolutely.
That's a lot of power and a lot of
people don't
swinging in the breeze there.
understand that, they say, how can you not know what's going on out there? Well, the guys are out there working. Me going out there and creating a distraction to ask them what's going on is delaying it even further.
Exactly.
And so we just let them be. Kevin knows when they're within X amount of time, or if it's been 2 hours since we've heard, they'll call us back. So I don't bother them in the field just because they need to be paying attention.
Well, I thought it was a pretty good email and they had good suggestions.
Yes.
And, I would go at that.
Yep.
And
plus it's dark.
let him know.
The conditions were not good.
Right.
I mean, they're not out there drinking coffee.
No.
No.
No, I
Not
don't
2
think he
o'clock
had
in the
any,
morning.
No, that's
I don't
not-
think
not
he had
what-
any concern with any of that, the job being done, or,
Yeah, right.
it was more just the
Yeah,
communication.
and there are good recommendations there that we are going to implement. If we could automate it, we would, but unfortunately, those kind of things aren't automatable.
Is it worthwhile maybe to consider maybe a rate payer customer service coordinator? Like, you call this number, one person gets it, and then that person honchos the complaint to the right person,
Yeah.
follows through, and it's your responsibility, but you delegate delegate authority down to that person,
Yeah.
and at least you know where it's going.
That's typically what the customer service reps are doing, but
I called about a garbage can today. My wheel broke, and I called up your old company.
oh,
And
I
I
got
got
called
customer
us.
service,
Yeah,
and sure enough, they're gonna come deliver me a wheel and put it on the garbage can and everything.
Here.
I thought you were gonna say you called us for a wheel. I was gonna say, I didn't get that call.
But the point is that might be a good way of alleviating a lot of your
Yeah.
issues. You'll have one person you can deal
Customer
with,
service
and it doesn't have to be a
is always-
special extra person that you have to hire. You can use somebody as you have now. Because I don't think you get complaints all the time.
No, it's typically not an issue until somebody there are some customers who have a question about their bill and although the customer service reps can handle it, they want to speak directly to me or Matt. And so 99% of the time those things are handled and Matt and I aren't aware of it. It's when people will call and ask for specific people and for one reason or another, they just don't get a call back. So that's what the customer service reps do. We'll make it more clear so that our new customer service rep is really good actually. So call in sometime. I think you'll enjoy it.
All right, does the board have anything else to come before us, before we go to public comment? All set? All right. Item 10, public comment period, limited to 15 minutes. Is anyone in the, yes?
Albert Cole. Todd, you mentioned the last proposal from America First Hydro
Yep.
was made to the town?
No,
No.
to the district. I'm sorry, did I say
To the
town?
district.
To the district.
Okay, and is that public knowledge?
That proposal is,
On the
if you
website?
wait here, I don't know if it's on the website. If it's, I can make you a copy to ensure you have it, or I can email it to you tomorrow, but it is public.
I'll
And
stick
it will be
around
on the
for a
website.
copy.
If it isn't, it will.
Yeah, and it will be.
Yeah, absolutely, I will make a copy for you, Albert.
And then the second question I have is, there was a comment that no capital expenditure. Is there a capital expenditure for dam maintenance? I mean, that's been
That's
an
a
issue.
line item budget. Those are budget items. So,
It is budgeted?
yes, capital is above and beyond
Okay.
improvements.
Do we get a chance to see the proposed budget for 2019?
I could, yeah.
It should be on our website.
Isn't it on the website, Matt, in the packet? If not, it will be.
I think, no.
Do you have anything else, Albert?
No.
Anyone else? Yes,
I have
sir.
a quick thing.
Just identify yourself, please.
David Wayne, that occurred today. You don't always get enough kudos, and I'm doing some volunteer work for SCORE, which helps create jobs in southern Maine. I had a client today who was a resident of Kennebunk for 18 years, and she's since moved to Saco, and she says, the thing I miss most is KLPD, because she's on CMP, and you should, get credit for some of that, how much it's appreciated outside as well.
Thank you, Dr. Wayne.
Thank you for the comments. Did you have anything else?
That's it.
Anyone else?
Yeah, mixed in with the Thanksgiving and the stuffing, I mentioned some boards that I wondered if they had been taken care of.
Wayne went to get them today, but there was too much water, so they will be taken in before they freeze to the concrete.
Yeah, and I think it may have been a year and a half ago, I mentioned putting some great stuff underneath the barricade to keep the water from going under it, to reduce the flow into possibly going in the plant.
Yep.
Have any of those been augmented in a way to keep the water out?
We cleaned out the gutter,
Again, good.
and I was told, but I haven't tried to lift it up, that great stuff was used to stick that down.
It does lift up, but it's heavy,
Yeah, oh yeah.
so you may need a truck to lift that out. Anyway, I think taking that grill out of there for the winter.
Yep.
With the leaves and everything else would enhance the drainage. And that's just my own point of view. And the other thing you might look at is where is the water getting in? Does it go under the big doors? Is there any way to seal that off for the winter or whatever when you don't have to run a truck or anything in there? That way may improve the situation. The other thing, I've been tracking the water flows, as you know, and anybody can do it with their phone at home, their iPhone at home. And something all of a sudden hit me between the eyes. Between August and now, they have a mean flow diamonds at the bottom or near the partway down the page that shows the mean flows for 54 years. And since August, we have come very close to being twice the mean flow all fall long. And everybody knows there's a lot of water. And a gentleman told me today that people who had never had water in their basement now have water in their basement. So again, I wondered if you might want to update those that are watching on the website here. What's the standing for each plant at the moment? Are they all running, or are they all shut down, or are there repairs needed in some of them? Sort of bring us up to date. We're nearing the end of the year.
Kesslin is not running. I know that for a fact. Dane Perkins is Twine Mill is operable. I don't know if it's running right now. And Dane Perkins as well.
Dane Perkins as well?
Is operable, but I don't know if it's running right now.
Okay, so the question about what we were going to go look at was resolved somehow.
Yeah.
You can fill me in later.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Peter.
All right. Anyone else? Public comment? Seeing none. Item 11. Our next board meeting is scheduled for December 18th. It's a week early because of the holiday. At this time, that meeting is scheduled for 5 p.m. It also is scheduled to be an executive session only. This may change if something comes up that the board needs to address urgently, but otherwise, right now, the December meeting is an executive meeting. Following that, January 29th would be our next regularly scheduled board meeting of 2019.
If there is an item that needs to be discussed publicly at the December 18th meeting, it'll be noticed well ahead of time. So right now, tentatively, it's just an executive session. Typically, agendas go up Thursday or Friday, and that would be noticed prior to that meeting saying it's going to be an open session as well.
Board recommendations for agenda items for the next meeting. There won't be any because it's only an executive session. So if there's anything that you want to address for January meeting, let Jay know. And
Todd.
I'm sorry, Todd, yes.
You can tell me too.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I was like, what?
It is an old head.
And item 13, adjournment. Motion? Nobody wants to leave? I was going to say, nobody wants to leave. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.